The message arrived at 2:17 a.m. on a frequency that should have been dead. Lieutenant Mara Kincaid had been awake for 19 hours, her coffee long gone cold, the operations room washed in that pale green glow only military consoles can produce. Outside, the Alaskan winter pressed against the reinforced windows, the wind screaming across the ice like something alive. She was 3 minutes from logging the shift as uneventful. Then the speakers crackled. Not static, not interference, a voice. "Any station, if anyone hears this, we are still here." Mara froze. That frequency hadn't been used since 1989. It belonged to Station Echo 6, a classified Arctic listening post that, according to every official record, had collapsed into the Beaufort Sea during a storm 35 years earlier, killing all 12 men inside. The line was supposed to be silent forever. Mara's fingers hovered over the console. Her training screamed at her not to respond. Her instincts screamed louder. "Echo 6, identify yourself," she said. The reply came instantly, as if the speaker had been waiting. "Lieutenant Kincaid," the voice said. Her blood ran cold. She had never used her name on that channel. No one alive should have known she was on duty, and no transmission should have been possible from a base that no longer existed. The speaker's breathing was heavy, labored, close to the microphone. "They told us the storm would take us. They were wrong." Mara's hands began to shake. "What is your designation?" she asked. There was a pause. Then, "Captain Elias Ward, U.S. Air Force, Echo 6 Command." That was impossible. Ward had been officially declared dead on January 14, 1989. She pulled up the incident file. The photo matched the voice in her memory from archived recordings. Same man, same tone, same cadence. But the timestamps didn't. The transmission she was receiving was dated now. "Captain," she said carefully, "Echo 6 was lost 35 years ago." The line went quiet. When Ward finally spoke again, his voice had changed. "We know. That's the problem." The operations room felt suddenly smaller. The walls too close, the air too thin. "We never sank, we never drowned, we never left the ice." Mara swallowed. "Then where are you?" Another pause. "Still on station," he said, "still listening, and whatever's out here with us, it's getting closer." Something thudded in the background of the transmission. Not wind, not ice, something heavy. Mara's console began flashing warning lights as the signal strength spiked far beyond safe limits. "Captain, what do you need?" she whispered. His answer came through the static, low and urgent. "Tell them the black wind isn't a myth. Tell them the door under the ice was opened, and tell them—" The transmission cut out. The room fell silent. The frequency went dead. Outside, the Arctic wind howled across the frozen ocean, carrying secrets that had waited 35 years to be heard. Mara Kincaid knew one thing with absolute certainty. History had just failed to stay buried. Mara didn't sleep. By 5:30, the sun was still nowhere near the horizon, the Alaskan sky nothing but a deep, frozen blue. She sat alone in the operations room, replaying the recording for the 20th time. Every analyst who listened agreed on one thing. The voice was Captain Elias Ward. Voice print analysis returned a 99.87% match to archived recordings from 1988. Impossible, according to physics. Uncomfortable, according to everyone else. Her commanding officer, Colonel Hargreaves, stood behind her now, arms crossed, jaw tight. "You understand what this means," he said quietly. "It means someone is transmitting from a dead station, and they know classified details that only Echo 6 Command had access to. Hargreave nodded. And it means the storm report was wrong. The official report had blamed structural collapse after a pressure ridge split the ice shelf, but no wreckage had ever been recovered. The sea had simply swallowed the base and its crew. Or so they thought. By noon, a decision was made. A reconnaissance team would be deployed. No press, no official paperwork, no public acknowledgement. If Echo 6 still existed, they would find it. The aircraft cut through the Arctic clouds like a blade. Below them stretched a landscape of white so vast it made the world feel unfinished. Ice ridges rose like frozen waves. Crevices yawned open, dark and endless. The Arctic didn't look empty. It looked watchful. Mara sat strapped into the rear cabin beside Dr. Jonah Reeve, the geophysicist assigned to the mission. He hadn't spoken since takeoff. "Ever been this far north?" she asked. Reeve shook his head. "I've studied satellite images of this sector for years. There's something wrong with the ice here." "Wrong how?" He hesitated. "It doesn't move the way it should." She frowned. "Ice always moves." "Not like this," he said. "This section has remained almost perfectly stable since 1989. No drift, no seasonal fracture. It's as if something is holding it in place." The aircraft's instruments began flickering. The pilot's voice came over the intercom. "We're losing magnetic alignment. GPS is unstable." Mara felt the same cold she'd felt during the transmission crawl up her spine. The storm appeared without warning. Not a wall of clouds, but a distortion. The sky ahead twisted as though reality itself had folded. Wind slammed the fuselage, snow lashed the windows. The aircraft bucked violently. "We're flying straight into the anomaly," the pilot shouted. Then they saw it. A structure, half buried in ice, angular, steel, antennas rising like frozen skeletal fingers. Echo 6. It hadn't sunk, it had been entombed. The aircraft set down roughly on the ice a quarter-mile away. The wind howled around them, carrying a sound that didn't belong to any storm, a low, hollow moan that vibrated through bone. The team disembarked. Mara's boots touched ice that had not shifted in 35 years. The base loomed ahead, its doors sealed by frozen pressure. Frost coated the walls in thick white layers. Antennas still pointed skyward. Dr. Reeve whispered, "This place should be rubble." Mara activated her recorder. "This is Lieutenant Mara Kincaid. We have visual confirmation. Echo 6 remains intact." A shadow moved across the ice, not cast by the sun, cast by something under the ice. The low moan returned, closer now, and from somewhere inside the buried base, a radio began to transmit. The radio signal was coming from inside the ice, not from an antenna, not from a buried transmitter, from within the base itself. Mara raised her hand, signaling the team to halt. The wind screamed across the ice field, but beneath it, through the static in their headsets, the transmission pulsed in a slow, deliberate rhythm. 3 short bursts. Pause. 3 more. Dr. Reeve's face had gone pale. "That's a distress cadence," he whispered. "Old school, pre-digital." The storm thickened as they approached Echo 6. Snow scraped across their visors like sand. The massive steel door of the station was fused into the ice, but a narrow maintenance hatch along the side remained exposed. Its locking wheel was turned. From the inside. Mara's breath fogged her visor. "They're alive," she said, though the words sounded wrong even as she spoke them. They forced the hatch. Metal screamed, ice cracked, the seal broke with a deep, echoing groan. The air that spilled out was warm. Not warm like heated air. Warm like something breathing. The team climbed inside. The lights were on. After 35 years, Frost lined the walls but hadn't breached the interior. Power cables hummed beneath their boots. A calendar still hung on the wall. January 1989. Someone had crossed out the days. All of them. The radio transmission grew louder. They reached the operations room. The men were still there, seated at their stations, wearing uniforms bleached pale by time. Skin gray, eyes open, frost crusted along their cheeks and brows. But they were not dead. Their chests rose, slow, shallow, perfectly in sync. Dr. Reeves staggered back. That's impossible. Captain Eli Ward stood at the center console, his hand resting on the transmitter. He turned toward Mara and smiled. "Lieutenant Kincaid, you took your time." Mara's heart slammed against her ribs. "Captain, what happened here?" Ward glanced around the room at his crew, men who had not aged a day in 3.5 decades. "We found something. Something under the ice." The lights flickered. The low moan rolled through the structure again, closer now, vibrating the walls. Ward's face faded. It wasn't empty. The temperature inside the station dropped sharply. Ice crept across the floor in thin, branching veins. Dr. Reeve whispered, "What did you do, Captain?" Ward met his eyes. "We opened the door." Behind the far wall, something shifted. Not ice, not metal. Something massive moved beneath the station, and the men at their posts began to speak in unison. "We are still here." The floor trembled. Not from an earthquake, from something moving with purpose. Mara steadied herself against the console as the men of Echo 6 continued breathing in perfect synchronization. Their eyes never blinked. Frost crept across their uniforms as though the station itself were slowly being claimed by the cold. Captain Ward's voice lowered. "We were drilling," he said. "January 12th, 1989. Ice penetration survey. The sonar found something under the shelf that didn't belong there." Dr. Reeves swallowed. "A structure?" Ward nodded. "A chamber, buried nearly 300 feet below the ice. Perfect geometry, no fractures, no origin signature." The lights flickered again. "And there was a door." Mara felt the air thicken. "A door to what?" Ward's jaw tightened. "We don't know. It was already there, long before the ice, long before us." Reeve whispered. "You opened it," Ward said. "We were ordered to. Command wanted answers." The station shuddered violently. A deep sound rolled through the hull. Not a roar, not a crash. A pressure wave that felt like something enormous exhaling. Ward's eyes briefly lost focus. "When the door cracked," he continued, "the wind began." Mara's breath became shallow. "The black wind." The crew at their station spoke again, together. "It does not belong to this world." Ward turned slowly toward the sealed lower corridor hatch, the one that led beneath the ice. "It didn't come out," he said. "It came through." Ice raced along the walls now, freezing equipment, crawling over consoles. The temperature alarms shrieked. Reeves' scanner began screaming. "There's movement under us, massive displacement, something is rising." The floor buckled. From below came the sound of grinding ice and splitting steel. Ward stepped back. "We were never meant to survive it, but it needed witnesses, so it kept us." Mara realized the truth with a sick twist in her gut. "They're not alive," she whispered. "They're being preserved." Ward met her gaze. "Yes,
The lower hatch exploded outward. A blast of black frost and wind tore through the operations room, extinguishing the lights. The crew of Echo 6 did not move, did not react. They remained at their posts, holding the line. Because something ancient was trying to come through the door beneath the ice, and the only thing stopping it was them.
The station went dark. Emergency lights flickered on, bathing the operations room in red. The wind that poured from the lower corridor was no longer just cold. It moved with intent, coiling through the space like something searching for breath. Mara's headset crackled, not with static, with whispers. Her name slid through the noise. Mara. She ripped the headset off. Dr. Reeve dropped to one knee, clutching his head. It's in the sound. It's in the vibration. It's learning us. Captain Ward stood perfectly still, eyes fixed on the broken hatch. It speaks through pressure waves, he said. It uses the air, the ice, the human ear. The crew at their stations began to shake. Their breathing fell out of sync for the first time since the team had arrived. The temperature plummeted. Frost burst across the walls in spiderweb patterns. Consoles cracked. The floor groaned. Reeve's scanner howled. The mass under us is moving upward. Whatever they sealed down there, the barrier is failing. Mara felt the vibration under her boots, a slow, heavy rhythm, like a heart beating inside the ice. Boom, boom, boom. Ward turned to her. We were supposed to be the lock. What does it want? She asked. His face twisted. Witnesses, voices, memory. It can't exist in our world unless it's known. The whispers surged. Names of the recon team echoed through the room, each spoken in the voice of someone they had lost. Mara heard her father's voice. Reeve heard his sister's. One of the soldiers collapsed, screaming. The lower corridor began filling with a crawling black frost that moved against gravity, flowing upward along the walls toward the operations room. Ward grabbed Mara's arm. If the door opens completely, he said, it won't just be the Arctic that changes. The floor cracked. A deafening sound rolled through the station. Not sound as humans understand it, but a presence so vast it crushed the air. From beneath the ice came a shape in the darkness, not seen, felt. The wind screamed, and in that screaming, something spoke clearly, directly, lovingly. Let me in. The station was dying. Steel screamed as the ice shifted. The ceiling split in long, jagged cracks, frost pouring down like powdered bone. The emergency lights failed one by one, plunging the room into a pulsing red darkness that felt like the inside of a wound. The heartbeat beneath the ice grew stronger. Boom, boom, boom. Mara could barely breathe. Dr. Reeve's scanner was useless now, its display filled with violent, impossible readings. The pressure field isn't physical anymore, he gasped. It's rewriting the environment. If that door finishes opening... He stopped. The crew of Echo 6 stood up, every man, perfectly together. Their joints moved stiffly, like bodies awakening from a long paralysis. Ice cracked off their uniforms and shattered on the floor. Captain Ward did not move. They can't leave their posts, he said. If they do, the lock fails. The whispers surged again. The thing beneath the ice called to each of them, using their fears, their grief, their memories. Mara's knees buckled as her father's voice begged her to come closer. She bit her lip until she tasted blood. Ward turned to her, eyes steady, human, and terribly calm. There's only one way to hold it. Mara knew before he said it. You need replacements, she whispered. Ward nodded. It requires minds, consciousness. The lock isn't mechanical. It's cognitive. Reeves stared at him.
You're saying the base itself is using your crew as a living seal? Yes. And when they finally fail? Reeve asked. Ward's voice dropped. It comes through. The floor split open along the far wall. Black frost poured upward. Something vast shifted in the darkness below, pressing closer. Ward placed his hand on the transmitter. The wind cannot hold new names unless someone offers them. Mara's chest tightened. No! Ward met her eyes. You were sent here because Command suspected this might happen. She shook her head. We can evacuate. We can destroy the base. Ward smiled sadly. The ice would break. The door would finish opening. The heartbeat thundered now. Boom, boom, boom. The crew of Echo 6 stood rigid, trembling, their breathing faltering. Ward's gaze softened. They've done their duty. It's time for someone else to take the watch. Silence fell between them, heavy as the ice above. Outside, the storm howled like a living thing. Mara realized the truth. Some wars never end. They just change guards. The storm outside fell suddenly quiet. Not calm, listening. Inside the shattered operations room, the crew of Echo 6 swayed where they stood. Frost flaked from their uniforms. Their breath came in ragged bursts. 35 years of borrowed time was finally collapsing. Captain Ward stepped away from the transmitter. Lieutenant Kincaid, he said, you must leave now. Mara shook her head. I won't abandon them. You already saved them, Ward replied, by coming. The floor split wider. Black frost climbed the walls like veins. The presence below the ice pressed upward with slow, patient certainty. Reeve whispered, It's pushing the lock. The men of Echo 6 began to fall. One by one they collapsed back into their chairs, not in defeat, but in relief. Their breathing slowed, their eyes finally closed. They had held the line long enough. Ward looked at them, then back to Mara. Our time is over, he said. Yours is just beginning. He placed his hands on her shoulders and gently turned her toward the hatch. Go, he told her. She didn't want to, but she did. Grieve grabbed her arm and pulled her down the corridor as the station shook around them. The whispers chased them through the halls, calling their names, promising everything they had ever lost. The moment they crossed the threshold of the station, the wind roared back to life. Behind them, Echo 6 began to glow, not with fire, with light. A deep, impossible blue shining through the ice and steel as the ancient mechanism re-engaged. Mara looked back just in time to see Captain Ward return to his console, place his hand on the transmitter, and speak one final time. We are still here. The light flared. The station vanished beneath the ice, entombed once more. The storm collapsed. Silence returned to the Arctic. Reeve fell to his knees in the snow. Mara stood frozen, staring at the place where Echo 6 had been. Somewhere far beneath the ice, a door had closed again, and a new watch had begun. The flight back was silent, not peaceful, hollow. The storm that had nearly torn the sky apart was gone, leaving the Arctic unnaturally calm. The ice beneath them looked smooth, untouched, as if Echo 6 had never existed at all. Mara couldn't stop staring out the window. Dr. Reeve finally broke the silence. The readings have stabilized. Whatever it was, the lock is holding. For now, Mara said. When they reached Anchorage, they were met by men who did not give names and did not ask questions. Phones were confiscated. Statements were recorded. Then came the files, boxes and boxes of them, stamped Black Wind Protocol, Level Omega Clearance.
Inside were reports spanning decades. 1931, Soviet expedition lost beneath the Kara Sea after discovering non-terrestrial chamber. 1947, Antarctic survey team sealed a subglacial anomaly under emergency order. 1962, nuclear tests diverted after seismic echo returned non-geological response. And then, 1989, Echo 6 activation. Mara's hands trembled as she turned the pages. Echo 6 had never been a listening post. It was a containment site, a lock, one of many. Reeves' voice was quiet. How many are there? Mara found the map. Red circles marked across the globe. Arctic, Antarctic, Pacific trenches, Himalayan ice shelves, Saharan substructures. Dozens of them, all buried, all sealed, all labeled, "Do not open." At the bottom of the final page, in faded ink, a single sentence had been written by someone who had known too much. "If the wind ever stops, the door is open." Mara looked up slowly. The room felt very small. "How long has this been going on?" she asked. A voice behind her answered, "Longer than civilization." They turned. Colonel Hargreaves stood in the doorway. "And now," he said, "you're part of the watch."